Flosstube, Katrina the Crafty Cataloger here. I know it's been forever, probably close to a year, since I've updated what I've been working on. This is probably the first time I've had the house to myself for more than an hour and a half at a time since last March. So got to get this done quickly so I can get it edited and uploaded quickly. Because it's been so long, I have no clue where I was on anything at that point, and I feel like it would take probably too long to go back and find pictures from then. So I'm just going to run through what I currently have going. So it'll kind of be like a whip parade, I guess. And then, I don't know, we'll see where it goes from there. I don't know. I will be honest, I've had thoughts of not doing any more videos at all. But we'll see if this goes well, and if I have time again in the next month, we'll see if I do any more. But anyway, for now, we'll start out with what I've been working on. So I just have my basket full of stuff over here, and I'm just going to show it all to you. I'll tell you as much about it as I can remember. So the first project I'm going to show you is Pandemic by Long Dog Samplers. I did start this last year. I dyed this fabric myself following Jen Upton's tutorial that she has online, and it was really easy to follow. So and I'm really pleased with how it turned out. It's a gray. I just used Rit dye, and I think I have written down somewhere what color floss I'm using. I think it's 815, but I'm not 100% sure. I thought I had the band off the floss in my bag, but it's not there. But I did want to also show, I got a little creative, and I wanted to put my floss on a floss ring, and so I made my own out of my old parking permit for work, because we got our new permits, and so I just covered it with some scrapbook paper, punched a hole in it. Thought that was a nice way to recycle something that otherwise would have ended up in the trash, and a parking permit that quite frankly didn't get used hardly at all last year, because I didn't have to go to work hardly at all. A recent start is, sorry, I'm not very prepared. It's called In Full Bloom, and it says bloom where you are planted. They have done it on yellow fabric and made it into a pillow. I considered trying to dye some fabric yellow. I would not have wanted mine to be that bright, and then I decided not to. I had this in my stash. It's just I think it was called Platinum. It's, I think, 16 count Ada. I had inherited from someone. It was in the tube still. Kind of a fun piece to work on because there are some big blocks of color, so you can get a lot of stitches in right away. This was one of my Whip Go goals for January, to get 1,000 stitches done, and I have a little over 1,000 stitches in there. So my Whip Go goal for that piece is complete, and I think that's the only time that piece appears on my Whip Go board. Pandemic does not appear on my Whip Go board at all, but I do plan on working on that one pretty regularly. I am in the Cross Stitch Township group, which is a closed group, and one of the challenges every week is called My Daily Thread, and so if you just post that you work on something every day, that earns you a point, and Pandemic is a great one to work on because it's one thread and it's just really easy to pull out. So a lot of times that ends up being my one daily thread, my daily thread project. I'm working on this buttons and beads kit by Mill Hill. Sorry about the glare, the dining room light is right over top of my camera. And I don't remember when I started this, but I'm making some progress. I have not put any beads into this piece yet, so that is all cross stitch. I do not really care for working on the perforated paper, and I put it in this frame thing myself. Obviously it didn't come that way, and this is not the perforated paper that came with the kit because I needed a bigger piece in order to be able to staple it to this frame. I have another Mill Hill kit that I'll show in a minute that I'm doing in hand, and I just don't like holding it. It's just very uncomfortable for me, and I find stitching on it very almost tedious because I have to do one-handed. Whereas with this frame on here, I can put it in my lap stand, which I've become quite dependent upon being able to two-hand stitch. A recent start, this was on my Whip Go board, and it was called this month, so I didn't intend necessarily to start it so soon, but because it got called, I did. Miss Bingley's Library by Plum Street Samplers. I really like this piece because I like Jane Austen and I like libraries and I like books. So here's my start. My Whip Go goal was to put in 500 stitches, and I have met that goal. This piece, I don't think this one shows up on my board again either. And it's a relatively small piece, although I think that house is probably pretty big and will take longer to stitch than we want to think. I am actually probably gonna not do much more on this right now. And I'll talk a little more about this later, but I ended up spending a couple of days in the hospital in December, and my doctor is telling me that I need to have surgery probably in the next couple of months. So I'm thinking that this one might be a good one to take to the hospital with me because it's small and compact. I am not using the called for threads on this piece. I basically just took from stash and picked my own threads. Mostly overdyed threads, but there are a couple of DMCs thrown in there. And this fabric is also not the called for, it's something I had in my stash, left over from another project. I'm trying not to buy too much if I can find something in my stash, just because, you know, kids in college, all that good stuff. The next project I'm going to show, I don't have a picture of. One of the prompts that comes up frequently in the Cross Stitch Township group, and another thing that we do in there is birthday celebrations, and people can say what they want you to stitch on for their birthdays. And a lot of people say fancy ladies, and I don't have any fancy ladies. So I went to the Nora Corbett website, and she did have some freebies, and I found one that's called the 2006 Cherub. I think it was a Christmas thing that she was doing for several years there. And so this is my start. The angel goes, this is her head, right? No, I take that back. It's not her head, that's her candle. This, oops, sorry. This right here is the outline of her face. She's looking at the candle, so like that's her nose. So anyway, when one of those challenges comes up and I need some stitches for a fancy lady, this is the one I pull out. And again, just picked a piece of fabric out of my stash that I had left over from something and got that one going. What's next? Oh, that's something that needs to just be put away. Another project that I worked on quite a bit last year, and this is a Teresa Kogut pattern called Give Thanks. I am not doing it on dark brown, and I'm sorry, but I don't want to take it out of the Q-snap. There's still a whole lot of pumpkin left to go on that baby, and I've put in a lot of stitches on that. Again, this is a great one if I need a lot of stitches, because a lot of it's the same color, and so you can kind of just go really fast. But I am working on that one. Give Thanks shows up on my Whip Go board once, just to make sure that I put some stitches in it, but I'm guessing that come fall I will start wanting to stitch on it again anyway, or if it meets a prompt for the challenge group. What do we have next? I really like these bags. Christine from Stitch All the Things had shown these once, and they come from Amazon, and you can get a pack of, I don't know, 8 or 10 for relatively inexpensive. Those project bags people make are beautiful, but these are just very practical for my situation. I have a basket that they fit perfectly in, and that basket fits perfectly on the bottom shelf of the end table that sits next to my stitching chair, so it just keeps everything very confined, and I need that. The next project I'm working on, I bought this at Moe's Needle and Thread in Portland, Michigan. I'm gonna say about August. I drove my mom down there to pick up her sewing machine she had in for repair, and so I bought this. It's called Melody. I'm actually kind of thinking that when I finish it, I might frame it and see if my husband wants to put it in his office at work. If not, it will go near our piano. And let me make sure I have it right side up. This is how much I have completed on this one. And like I said, I am holding this one in hand, and I find that difficult. But I think that's a really neat piece, and I look forward to having that one finished. That one does show up on my board one time to get 2 blocks done. This one you've all seen before, I think. Maybe not. I feel like I showed this one probably the last time. Happy Camper. I stitched this one last year for my sister-in-law, and I finished it. I feel like I showed this. I feel like I showed my finish. Maybe not. Maybe I showed my finish on Instagram. Anyway, I had purposely bought 2 pieces of fabric, or a piece big enough to cut in half, and I purposely left it all kitted up because I am going to stitch it again for myself and my husband for our camper. And so that one does show up on my board at least once, twice it looks like. But that one was a pretty quick stitch, and I'm hoping to have it done by next summer. Done and in our camper by next summer, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes. No pressure. This piece I have not started, And let's see, I have to figure out which one it is that I'm going to do. Country Cabin. So this is from this booklet called Nesting Places. This is Country Cross Stitch, book 96, from the artwork of Carolyn Shores Wright, and it has a copyright date of 1996. I am going to do this one. I believe, I have to double check, but I believe I was going to say I've done all 3 of those, and this is the last one, but you know, now that I think about it, I'm pretty sure I've done this one, and I'm pretty sure I've done this one, but I honestly don't think I've done that one. So maybe I have 2 more out of this book to do. I'm doing that one. That's the one I'm going to start this year. Both of those 2 that I have done have been done and gifted to my mother-in-law, who likes birds. And so this one is also going to be, and I guess if I have not done that one, then she'll get that one sooner or later. But I have it all kitted up. I have all my threads ready. I have a piece of fabric in here. And this one does show up on my board also, at least, it looks like 3 times. I would love to start and finish this one and have it ready for her for Christmas, but I'm not. I have moved beyond the I'm going to make this for this person and it's going to be a Christmas present. I'm going to make this for her and she'll get it when she gets it. If it's this Christmas, that's great. If it's not until next Christmas, well, you know, that's the way it is, because I don't want to put that kind of pressure on myself anymore. It takes the fun out of it for me. When I purchased Miss Bingley's library, I also purchased 2 other charts. And this one is Spring Rolls by Plum Street Samplers. This is part of the Wiener set that she's done. There's Halloweenies, Jeans and Weenies, Yellow Polka Dot Biquinis, all of them. And my sister-in-law has a dachshund named Penny, so I've been doing these for my sister-in-law, and so I bought this one to do for her, and this one, I don't think this one is on my board because nope, this one is not on my board. It'll get started when I feel like starting it, I guess. When I need to, probably. The other thing that I purchased from 123 Stitch that day, that I ordered Miss Bingley's library, I was spending a little bit of Christmas money that day, was this chart called Laundry, the Never-Ending Cycle. This is part of a series. There are 2 more charts, I believe. Part of me wouldn't mind doing all of them, but I just purchased the one for now. And I have not pulled the threads for this one, but I do have a piece of fabric that I picked up at Hobby Lobby a couple of weeks ago. This one is on my board also, and I just think it's a cute little chart. I think all 3 of them are cute, and I might try to figure out how to hang them in our laundry closet. This piece you probably won't be able to see much of. I have not worked on this in quite a while. This is part of the Lizzie Kate 3 Little Words series, and I have the first one done, and I believe this is the second. I think I'm working on the second one of the charts. And I have this border up and around the top and starting, but the border has to come out because it's wrong. It's not, I thought I had it centered correctly, and I do not. So there's more space on one side than there is the other. So at some point I have to take that out. I think what I might do is, I really wanted to do the border and then work the border down as I did it. But I think the problem is that the charts are not all exactly the same width. So I think what I'm going to do is just finish all the charts and then go back and do the border, figure out the border at that point. And figuring out stuff like that gives me a headache because it involves math, and math is not my strong subject at all. But it's kind of a family joke about how bad I am at math. Okay, so then that takes me to my full coverage, well, or most of them are full coverage projects. I have worked quite a bit more on Mini Village Bookstore. I believe this is a Randall Spangler artwork, charted by Hayde. This was on my WhipGo board last year. For some reason, I had put on there that I wanted to start and finish a page. That is an unrealistic goal for a 1 month challenge for myself, but I managed to get enough of my goals done ahead of time that I basically had the last 3 months of the year to do that last block, and so I did. I started and finished this page over here, and I just love this piece. I love purple. It's one of my favorite colors. I love old Victorian houses. I love books and bookstores, even though I don't really go to them anymore because I work in a library and I can get my books for free. Lots of confetti up in here, but let me tell you, Pattern Keeper is a wonderful thing. So I imagine I will pull this out some more this year to work on this, but it's going to be lower priority than some other things. The next one in my pile is Glory of Autumn. This is a Dimensions kit. I love this picture, but this is probably, next to the Mill Hill kits, my least favorite project to work on. For those of you who have ever done a Dimensions kit, you know that many times it asks you to use 6 threads, 2 threads, 4 threads, and sometimes it just gets so thick that it is just really hard to push, like especially in the tree. It's hard to push your needle through all of that, and honestly, sometimes it makes my hand hurt. So I will continue to pick away at this. It is on my WhipGo board at least one time, probably more than one time. I would love to have that one finished up. My goal for that one is, I think I ultimately want to frame that and put it in our camper, but I'm gonna have an awful lot of cross stitch in our camper, but I'm running out of space. I don't have a whole lot of space in my house for stuff like that either. My other Heaven and Earth Designs project that I'm working on is Mini Deer Creek. Oh, look at those antlers. I just love, oh, sorry, threads. I just love the antlers. How they just look so awesome. This one is the one that I'm kind of thinking I want to be my focus, full coverage this year. This piece was started, and I am intending to give it to my father-in-law, who is an avid hunter and loves, you know, wildlife. I don't think I can have it done and framed to gift it this Christmas, but I'm gonna see how close I can get. I am like 34% done according to Pattern Keeper, so I think I did the math one day and I would have to do like 5,000 stitches a month on it to even come close, and I'm not sure that's feasible. We are still in semi-lockdown state here in Michigan, and the library I work for, we currently are still not open. We are only offering curbside service. My boss is kind of starting to talk about maybe reopening, and I'm hoping that if we do, that we reopen in phases, but I don't know how that's gonna go. But I do know that my more laid back life is probably going to come to an end here in the next couple of months. And I'd like to think that I'll still stitch almost as much, because I still, even through all of this, I've been stitching mostly at night. But we'll see. I don't know if I will or not. Anyway, my new year, new start, and I will put a picture of it here, is called Sunlight Sonata, and this is a Tilton Crafts chart, and this is how much I have gotten done so far. Now my other two full coverage pieces are on 18 count. This one I decided I was going to try 25 count, and I don't know, maybe I'm crazy because those stitches are so tiny. Okay, there. Anyway, tiny stitches, but I think it's gonna look really cool. It may just take me 20 years to finish it. The only other cross stitch thing I have that I guess I'll show, I guess it's kind of haul. The other pattern I purchased when I was at Moe's that day is this by the Drawn Thread. It's called Little Bits of Christmas, and I like it because you get several little charts in there. So, and there are instructions on doing them all separately or doing them together. So I look forward to starting that at some point, although I don't have any immediate plans to start it. So let me look at my Whip Go board real quick here. Country Cabin, I showed you. Sunlight Sonata, Happy Camper, Glory of Autumn, Laundry. Mini Village Bookstore, Three Little Words. Three Little Words shows up on there a couple of times, 3 times I think, because I really would like to get myself, that one I'm doing as a laid back stitch along with Christine at Stitch All the Things. She's just restarted doing her Wellness Wednesday Stitch With Me videos, and that's the one she's working on. I think I did show everything. So if I've done my math correctly, I have about 18 whips. And that's actually including 18, actually includes a couple things that aren't started, like Country Cabin's not started, Happy Camper's not started, Laundry's not started, Spring Roll's not started, and then actually also on my list I have Shannon Christine TBD, which means Shannon Christine to be determined. I have seen several people stitching some Shannon Christine Christmas things, and I think they're really super cute. And so sometime in the very near future, I would like to purchase one and do it. This Drawn Thread is not on my whip list though, so I mean, if I were to count that one, if I were to start that one, I could ultimately have 19. So my whip list has 18, although I don't really have 18 whips. I have more like 15 at this point, 14. From someone who used to be a one project at a time person, that's probably my limit. I don't want to get too many more than that. I think that wraps up cross stitching. I finished my Raina shawl. It's back in the other room. I was going to grab it and then I forgot. It needs to be blocked, and I actually moved my oldest son back to college on Friday. So yesterday I washed the sheets on his bed, and this morning I need to make his bed, and then I need to wash that shawl and block it. And that may seem very unrelated, but I use his bed to block my knitwear because it's the only big flat space I have. I have not yet invested in the blocking mats, and right now our dog is just silly enough that if I laid those out and put something on it, he would go lay right on top of that. So I wouldn't want to put that on the floor anyway. So I just use my oldest child's bed because he's not here half the time. Other knitting projects, I have one sock. It ended up with this really weird stripe in the middle, but I did get this sock made, and I have this much of the second sock made. I made this sock using the pattern from the Crazy Sock Lady. My first sock that I ever attempted, I used Caroline from Off the Grid Needle Arts' pattern that her friend Louise wrote. There were things about that just confused me, and I think it's all me. My brain just works in a certain way, and there were things about that pattern that confused me. This pattern by Crazy Sock Lady addresses those things. Like, she wrote hers a little bit differently, so my brain gets it. Like, one of the things is that one of these stitch markers is your halfway point. And in the Crazy Sock Lady pattern, she actually tells you to move it, and then she tells you to move it back. And she even says in the pattern, your halfway point is moving. It will move back. And Caroline's pattern never said that, and that really messed with my mind. I could not figure out, I just couldn't figure it out. I guess it's just the way my brain works. I think in the end what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of rewrite my own pattern using the bits and pieces from Caroline's pattern that worked with my brain and the bits and pieces from Crazy Sock Lady that work with my brain. The one thing I do not like about the Crazy Sock Lady pattern is that she does a 1x1. Come on. There you go. A 1x1 rib. I'm not too crazy about that. And honestly, I hate stitching 1x1 rib. So, I started another one. The other problem with the Crazy Sock Lady pattern is I really thought, based on what her pattern said, that a size small would fit my foot. And although I can get this on my foot, the next size bigger would be a little bit better. So once I get that set done, I will have to find someone to gift those to. So I also have another sock that I started. And this one I started a 2x2 rib. I prefer the look of the 2x2 rib. I also prefer stitching a 2x2 rib. Excuse my fingernails, I really need to take this nail polish off. How people manage to have nail polish and keep it looking good for more than 2 days, I don't know, because I can't do it. This yarn, sorry, I digress. This yarn is a hot mess. This came, I don't know where this came from. Hobby Lobby or Joann's, one of the two. Those are the two stores that I have available to me in Mount Pleasant. But it has some blue and some red. I just thought it would make cute socks. And if any of my knitter friends or viewers out there could help me out, I don't understand. I looked up online once, and I did find that when you buy the skeins like from the big box stores, that you're supposed to reach inside and pull out this glob and pull from the center, because I can never pull from the outside because the ball band's in the way. And so then I'm like, am I doing it wrong? So I looked it up, and you're supposed to pull from the inside. Then I end up with this. I end up with a rat's nest mess every time. There has got to be a better way. Is it possible to somehow put this on my Swift and wind it into a ball like this? Because I would much prefer this. I like this much better. If anybody has any help for me in terms of yarn, because here's another one that it got to be a real mess. And so right now it's wound all around itself. It's not very easy to knit off of. This is my latest project that I started. I got in my head that I wanted to make a sweater. So Lorraine from LNS Crafts had shown the long line cardigan by Joji Locatelli, and I loved it. I bought the pattern. Excuse me. I bought the pattern. I have started that thing twice. I need help. I can do the first section, and then it asks you to pick up stitches, and that's where I have trouble. So I gave up for the time being on that one. I do hope to go back to it someday and make it, maybe when I can get somebody to help me get past that spot. But in the meantime, I downloaded this pattern for this sweater. This is a Mary Maxim pattern that was free. I found it on Ravelry. It's called Pleated Ribs Cardigan. So far, it's pretty easy. I think I read through the entire pattern. It didn't have pick up stitches anywhere. I have troubles picking up stitches. I think that's why I decided I could not do crochet, because I can't see, like I look at it and I don't see where I'm supposed to be sticking my needle. But the other thing was with the long line cardigan pattern, it said like pick up 39 stitches, and then it said you're going to pick up like 2 stitches for every 3. Again, math. It was rough. So anyway, I don't have a huge start on this. Just a few rows. I think I haven't done a ton. But, I mean, there's a lot of it. It's pretty big. I am waiting. I did stitch on this a little bit last night. I've watched Jeopardy and Wheel of Fortune off and on my entire life. But the last, I don't know, 9 months, it's kind of gotten to be my thing. Like 7 o'clock, I sit down and I watch Wheel of Fortune and Jeopardy. And so I've been kind of doing like knitting while I watch those 2 shows. And then at 8 o'clock, I switched to cross stitch. But anyway, I'm hoping this will turn out. And I am enjoying it. But anyway, I started to say anyway. I'm waiting for new needles. These needles, they look awful. They're discolored from my Paris and Berlin cowl. The yarn was hand dyed and it really discolored the needles. These are just your typical cheap, well, relatively cheap clover needles from Joann's, and they are interchangeables, but they don't have the thing so you can like lock them on there, so they're constantly coming undone. In fact, last week I was knitting along and all of a sudden my cable was disconnected from my needle and it was in the middle, and I had to very carefully get it all wound back on. So I have ordered new needles. I have a Knit Picks Options cable that's the right size. So I ordered the right size needles to go on this cable because I know I loved these when I used them for the project I used them for. So anyway, I'm hoping that'll come in the next couple days, which will make knitting on that much easier. Let's move on to quilting. Quilting. Did I finish anything last year? I did finally finish my Cubbyhole Quilt top, and I'm pretty sure that I showed that. If I didn't show it here, I did post it on Instagram. So if you follow me over there, you may have seen that. I have a project that I have all the stuff gathered for. I will put a picture of it here. I intended to start it 2 weeks ago, and of course I didn't. So I really need to get on that because it's intended to be a wall hanging for my living room, and I know right where I'm going to hang it, and I have the spot all cleared, so I really need to get it done so I can hang it up. Cool mug my kids bought me for Christmas. Go Cards. I've wanted one of these for a long time, and I've hinted for a long time, and finally they paid attention. Usually my last segment of my videos is books. I I'm not going to list books that I read. I mean, I can't even, that would be a lot of books. I did not meet my goal last year. I had set a goal to read 70 books. I think I only got to 64. I really can't even tell you how I didn't manage to get to my goal. But you know, I guess that's just the way it is. I have set, I don't remember what I set this year's goal at. I set it slightly lower, 64 or 65. Anyway, I guess I can tell you what I'm currently reading. I'm currently listening to Middlemarch by George Eliot. Rather ashamed to admit that until earlier this month, I did not realize George Eliot was a woman. Felt like maybe I should turn in my librarian card when I found that out, because it seems like something I should have known, but I didn't. And I had never read anything by her, so I decided to try Middlemarch. I am listening to it, and so far it is pretty good. I definitely think it's one that I would prefer listening to over reading, but it's long, and I mean like 25 hours long, and I hope I can get through it, or that I can renew it. And the other book I'm reading is an advanced reader's copy of a book by Kim Vogel-Sawyer, and so far it is very good, just like all of her other books have been. General life goals, I had the goal to walk every day last year, and I almost made it. My little stay at the hospital broke that up, but I did end up with, I can tell you real quick, I did end up with 1,318 miles in 2020, so I'm gonna try to beat that this year. You know, even if I only get to 1,325. I know that I won't be able to get 365 days consecutive right now either if I end up having to have surgery. So I have already resigned myself that this current streak is going to be a shorter one, but I am still trying and committed to walking every day. So I see that my battery light is flashing, so I guess I better get cutting this short, and I need to get it on my computer and edited and uploaded before the house becomes inhabited again. So anyway, it's been fun chatting with you all again. Sorry for the very, very, very long absence. I hope everyone is well and getting lots of crafting time. Hopefully see you soon. Bye.